I'm not creative enough to come up with a funny introduction right now, so we're building a diner. And I already prepared a bunch of stuff, like what the people are going to wear, and I also made my own custom menu. Even though there is a pre-made diner menu in the game, but I wanted to make my own. That's the most fun part. The inspiration behind this build are these benches that come with Dine Out, and I made the unfortunate discovery that they don't work how I thought they would or how I would like them to work, because as it turns out, they're only meant to go on one side, as in like you can't have a bench, a table, and then another bench across from there. It doesn't work like that. I mean, theoretically it works. Like, I tested it in a bunch of different variations, and like your Sims can sit everywhere and eat everywhere, but the game doesn't like it. And the game also doesn't really let you place them that way without cheats, which means that this lot, once it's done, it's not gonna work that well. Like, Sims are gonna have a really hard time sitting on these benches automatically and autonomously. But do you know what? Knowing Dine Out and how broken it is, this lot would probably not be working that well anyway, no matter what we do. So I just decided to go for it anyway. Anyway, so right now I'm figuring out the inside. I'm pretty much done with that now. And I made this cool custom checkerboard floor. To do this, I used the triangle pieces. You can get them by pressing Ctrl and F. Yeah, right? I think that's correct. So the first ever diners back in the day were converted trains, right? Or maybe trams? I'm actually not sure, but something like that. And so I kind of tried to go for something like that as well, by making it quite narrow and by raising it up with a platform to make the ceiling lower and stuff. But I don't know how well that worked out for me in the end, because this would be a very fat tram or train or whatever. If only these benches were smaller, I think that would have worked a lot better for this. But it's fine. I mean, the build is still quite small. In fact, so small that the slot that I placed it on is kind of too big for it. But I noticed that there is a much smaller lot just across the road, and I was thinking, why not try and move it to this one instead? And luckily it just fit, like it was perfect. I think there was one tile too much. So I am now building this on the lot that is just next to the pancakes house. I continued working on the interior here, but I didn't like the direction that it was facing, so I decided to move it around again. Originally I wanted to place it sideways, but on this lot that didn't fit anymore. But then I had the idea to switch where the door and where the back is, which was probably the best thing to do, because this actually leaves us with a lot of space for the entrance. And it also left us with some awkward space back here. But I remembered that we kind of need a bathroom. I totally forgot about that. So that's what I did with this back here. And I built a little fake toilet stall using half walls. I honestly prefer doing this to the toilet stalls that we got in some of the packs, like University. And actually, did we get any toilet stalls in other packs? Yeah, in the school pack. I think that's it though. But those toilet stalls are so big. I always have trouble fitting them into my bathrooms because they're such an awkward size. They're not one tile wide, they're also not two tiles wide, they're somewhere in between, and I am not a fan. The building didn't cover the entire space on the lot, so with the remaining one, I decided to do a parking lot. For this, I grabbed a bunch of fake cars from the debug menu. Originally, I was thinking of doing tile everywhere, but I decided against it. I also grabbed a fence and kind of made the cars go over the lot to make it appear bigger than it actually is. And I have some good news, we don't have the debug problem this time. These things that I placed here are actually solid. I decided to change up the cars for some that match our color theme better, which by the way, we're doing like a mint theme, which is, I think, just the default swatch for all of the Dine Out stuff. The reason being that I gave my I think waiters a similar colored outfit, although their uniforms are a little more minty than what I did here. It's not a perfect match, but it's the best we can do. Originally, I really wanted to do like a mint and pink theme because, I mean, that would have been so cute. But unfortunately, there aren't any pink swatches for any of the Dine Out stuff. So the biggest stuff is placed down now, so I've moved on to do the details and all of the smaller stuff. I came up with a little logo for this place, which was this circle item with like the knife and the fork and or is this a spoon? Maybe a spoon, maybe a knife, I'm not sure. But that circular item in the blue, as well as that swirly text. Not entirely sure why, I just liked it like that. I was thinking that this place was still missing some personality, but I really liked that gnome on the flamingo that I put in the front down there, and so I was like, why not do more gnomes? So now this place is kind of gnome themed, whoops. But I can't complain, I think they're really quite cute. I placed a big one on the roof, which is kind of creepy, but I also really like it. I was thinking I should come up with a name that has something to do with gnomes for this place. Originally, I was thinking of something like, oh, no matter what, I dine. But that's so long and it's kind of weird. I don't know, there's gotta be a good name for this that has something to do with gnomes. Here I have started to cover the walls with every wall item there is in the game. Because I saw all of these cool pictures online of diners that had like their entire walls covered in stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta do something like that as well. Unfortunately, there aren't that many items for walls in the base game and Dine Out combined. So a lot of the wall decor is kind of random because I literally just used whatever we had. Also, I am about to remember here that there are aquariums in this pack, and I couldn't contain myself from placing one in the bathroom. I'm sorry, but if there is an aquarium in a pack, I will use it. There is no way past it. You don't need two sinks anyway, so why not? The last thing that I did here was place in some bonus items with packs, which wasn't much because the slot is not very big, but I placed 2 of these like floor graffiti things from City Living and 2 dumpsters from Eco Lifestyle. What this means is if you download this lot or my save file once it's done, if I even ever finish it, you're gonna have these bonus items if you have these packs. And if you don't have these packs, then they're just not going to show up for you. And I tested this to ensure that this actually works by disabling my packs and loading back in. Oh, and one more thing. I placed the sign on the side of the building here, right? But because it's kind of off of the lot, the logo will disappear from it because I don't know, something about how the game loads in lots when you download them. So if you care about this, you're gonna have to move it somewhere else and then put all of the sign stuff back on and then move it back in its place using move objects. Although it's not that big of a deal. With that, it's done though. So here's the final look. And I've kind of failed to address the elephant in the room this entire time, I just noticed. I was gonna talk about this earlier, but then I just kept talking about other stuff. So you might be like, hey, Loea, you said you wanted to build a save file that's accessible for everybody no matter what DLCs they have. But now you build a lot that requires a DLC in one of the base game worlds. How does that work out? Because I don't know about you, but previously I kind of assumed that if we were to, for example, put this exact lot in the save file, that if you didn't have Dine Out, that it would show up, but half of the stuff that is from Dine Out and perhaps other packs would just not show up. So the lot would be pretty much broken and unusable. But then I tested this with a bunch of the lot types that require DLCs. And I discovered that they would get wiped and would show up as empty lots, or so I thought. Because as it turns out, that is not entirely true. Okay, here we go. I hope you're ready for some Sim save file science, or as I like to call it, So this footage here is from a few days later. Ignore that down there, that's spoilers for next week. But I discovered that my diner got reset and is now the house again that it was originally. This is because I disabled all of my packs I was just building with the base game. I even grabbed Bob pancakes and loaded into the lodge, and all of the Sims that were in my restaurant during playtesting were still here. And they all decided to leave once they realized that this was no longer a restaurant. Look at them all pouring out. And do you see those 2 white chairs? Those are actually stuck there because I messed up. Which is why in the final version that's going on the gallery, the tables in the front will look different than they do here. Because I don't want anything like that to happen to you if you download this lot. Anyway, back to the signs. I placed a bunch of lots that require DLCs in Oasis Springs, and then I came back with all of my packs disabled, and this is my actual reaction here because look, they all reset. This is actually huge news for my save file. And also, I thought that they would get reset to an empty lot because I tested this in Newcrest. And there all of the lots are empty. Kind of dumb. But with that, thank you so much for watching and participating in the science. And I shall see you next week where we are going to be building using just the base game. And we're going to be working on, well, what you just saw there in the corner earlier. Okay, see ya!